Hoops in the mid to late 1970s and 80s were everything anyone ever talked about, and most certainly they came out to watch. From sons and daughters to grandmothers and great-grandfathers, people, friends, family of different ages convened around New York City's various playgrounds to catch a glimpse of talent in its prime. Not only were kids watching, they took to the courts to try out their freshly seen moves and steadily practiced to become like some of the best basketball street legends. From time to time, there comes a basketball player who seemingly possesses unusual powers when they take the court. How do you defend it? Or do you? Or is it better to just sit back and watch? Earl Manigault was just that type of player, and when he played, everyone came to watch. Considered the king of his own generation of ballers, people who knew of Earl Manigault may question why he wasn't in the NBA playing alongside greats such as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Money, drugs, deprivation, and the Harlem way of life all aided in his inability to reach greatness. His jumping ability struck all from onlookers, but that didn't guarantee him anything but chances. Chances that someone important would come watch his next game. Chances that could have potentially set him up for greatness. Those same chances that he now gives children in this day and age, and for years to come to have hope, with activities in place so that young men and women have something to do rather than run the streets. Basketball was a way of life for Earl, and even though he passed away, his legacy lives on in Harlem and every place around it.
Oh man, a great guy, man, real caring, really cared about the community, really enjoyed his fame, and everybody liked him. Hardly anybody I know of that didn't like Earl,
When he was at his peak, when he was at his prime, that as a guard, nobody could stop him.
He was just really humble, cool guy. Like, I never thought that I could be be with my father and I could be myself.
We grew up together from childhood, played together on a number of different teams.
Okay, well, my father, I'm gonna say like this, he was the humblest guy ever. Always kept the same attitude, always encouraged you to do good things.
He was never a loudmouth, he was never a wise guy. He was always very calm, mild-mannered, you know what I'm saying? Like, he never had outspoken, even if his guys were screwing up left and right. He never voiced his opinion, he just went about his business and took care of his business,
Not looked at as a loudmouth individual, so to speak, the GOAT is revered as a humble and easygoing type of guy. If anyone had a problem, they could speak to Earl in a subtle yet judgment-free environment. He had a demeanor that would convince you everything would be okay. He was well respected by many, and the one person that knows this firsthand is his oldest son, Darren.
He definitely was a person of giving chances. He prided himself on always not looking at what people do, but how they are. He was just really humble, cool guy. Like, I never thought that I could be be with my father and I could be myself.
That type of attitude, or lack thereof, didn't give anyone any indication of what his game would be like on the court.
Yeah, he was one of the few people that started the tomahawk. There you go. You could call it. They call it tomahawk now, but back then we called it the goat dunk.
When he got the ball, just get out of his way.
Yeah.
And he would do some things that really Michael Jordan-esque.
What type of things was that?
Spins, go up and dunk on people that you wouldn't expect to do that. Jump to the top of the moon.
Never showed off, He knew he was good and he didn't have to prove it.
He played in the Rucker tournament in the summer, and he played against, guys in the NBA.
Yeah.
And, he just used to make shambles of them.
It was just a fantasy era where everybody just enjoyed and you hyped up all the big players, the players that you idolized during that time.
Idolized. During the 60s to the late 70s, there were many players who brought about unique ways to stir up the crowd, not just the GOAT. Back then, there were players like Nate Archibald, infamously known as Tiny, or the Skate, a guy who, unlike Earl, played on the concrete and in the NBA. He used to amaze with his nifty assists and skate-like moves he would finesse. Other street legends such as Jumpin' Jackie Jackson made it possible for Earl and a few other high flyers to test their jumping limits because Jackie was one of the first that could sky near the top of the backboard. From Pee Wee Kirkland to Julius Erving, Connie Hawkins, Joe Hammond, the list goes on of unbelievable raw talent. Although different and unique players individually, as a whole, one infamous park connects them all, and that was Rucker Park.
If you had game, you had to go and play in the Rucker tournament.
Rucker Park is located on 155th Street and 8th Avenue in Harlem, New York. This is where dreams were made or crushed. Here is where streetball legends, NBA players, old-timers, and people that just wanted to make a name for themselves played. A network of basketball players all in one park, and behind it all was Earl's mentor, Holcomb Rucker. Rucker saved a host of Harlem youths and was presumably a father figure to the many ball players he guided. He paved the way for kids to stay off the streets and do productive things with their time by creating a basketball tournament. His basketball tournament, the Rucker Tournament. One of his proteges that accepted what Rucker had to offer was the GOAT, who put on shows at the 155th Street Park and did things that people questioned. Was it fact or was it fiction?
You know, you could see the incredible talent that he had, and I had heard stories about him, how touching the top of the backboard and taking quarters off the top of the backboard.
Things always get blown out of proportion. There's nobody that can take a corner at the top of the backboard. And nobody living or everybody unless you on a pogo stick or you stand on top of the rim and just jump up and get
Let's go to the park, try different dunks. And we got tired of dunking, and I said, Willie, man, let's try to sit on the rim. We would twist and turn, we would hit our heads on the rim, and the guy came by and said, man, what y'all trying to do? I said, we try to sit on the rim. The guy said, man, y'all can't sit on the damn rim.
To my pops, everything is all fun. I remember he used to always say, man, you gotta keep the game fun. Once you put your attitude in it, you just screw everything.
He was the kind of guy who was you could identify him as soon as he walked through the door. And people were mesmerized. They would just stand there and watch, in awe as he did that. But when he was in Rutgers, when he played down in Rutgers, he put on shows. I only saw him play once down there, and I'll tell you what, I could never forget the way this guy played. He could do everything. He dribble. He could do everything. He didn't think that he was better than anybody. He never carried himself like that. At least not that I saw. He would just take the people for what they were. Whatever they were. That was it. That was their style. That was their style. He knew he could do whatever he wanted to do. But all the other people, they had to be in awe when he played. He didn't belittle anybody on the court, or I never seen him in anybody's face. I never saw him do that. He just did what he had to do and walked away.
Growing up in the era where drugs were highly profitable and the easiest way to make money, it was hard to stray away and be productive. Drug sellers and drug users were prevalent, making it that much easier to give in to temptations. Yeah, basketball was fun and the center of attention, but behind the scenes, drugs were the only quick solution concerning everyday needs, whether it be selling them to make money or using them to escape reality.
We came along where drugs was just common day. Every big time person that you knew and saw was dealing drugs. That was the thing to do. And if you started dealing drugs, inevitably, you were going to start using them. Even though people say, don't get high on your own supply type of thing, it doesn't matter. If you're around it and you got to test it and you got to see what it's like before you can give it to someone or sell it to somebody else, you start using it after a while. You start using more than you were selling, and that's how people, including Earl, basically wound up getting into drugs. He didn't really go to college, something to keep his career, lasting over a period of time, and that's what happens. A lot of the good ball players back then, college wasn't an option for a lot of them. School wasn't a major, concern for most of them. You just wanted to go to school and play ball. You didn't care about grades, you didn't care about, whether you went to college or not. It was just, everybody lived in the moment. Everybody lived in the moment.
I actually think that his situation helped a lot of people outside of it destroying his career, so to say, in the NBA. Everybody is used as an example of some sort, and you have a lot of great people and players that get derailed. You know, for an example of the next generation that's coming up, so they have something to look at to say, this is what not to do.
Amidst Earl's high school years, where he led Benjamin High in points, Earl associated with bad crowds, much to the chagrin of Mr. Rucker, and he fell victim to social endeavors such as marijuana. This called for his expulsion at the high school. He later finished high school at a private academy in North Carolina called Loringberg Institute. Manigault had many offers from all over the country. Instead, he went to Johnson C. Smith University and dropped out after a year.
And like anything you experience, you have to have a mentor and a person to help guide him. Apparently, his guidance was only the street. And then when he got rejected by the Utah Stars, and it made life difficult because he had nowhere to turn.
And for him to correct his life the way he did is that just says something for himself. For himself, you know. People who saw him play will never forget the way he played. It's just the fact that the new kids coming up, when you tell them, well, you never saw the GOAT, you don't know what the GOAT was doing. When I'm sure they're a little skeptical as to what he can do, but I'm sure they've heard stories of him, and maybe he could help. His reputation could help a few people stay on the straight line. You know what I'm saying?
Back in those days, we were around gangsters, drug dealers that bet on us and everything we did. I mean, to a dunk, to a 3-on-3, to a 1-on-1. Gangsters controlled all of that, because it was big money, so you got caught up in that, and they were all using drugs, and sometimes they gave you drugs for the money, and that's what happened.
Around the age of 23, without any day-to-day guidance, the GOAT turned back to the streets where he developed a heroin addiction. He was arrested on drug charges and sent to prison. From his approximate 3-year hold on life, the 6'1" GOAT, who had a 50-inch vertical leap and amazing athletic abilities, the same abilities that made him who he was, started deteriorating. Offers and trials were still coming his way, but his body showed signs of gradual fatigue. He wasn't the high-flying GOAT he once was, but with his notoriety, combined with his everlasting love and passion for the game, started his own basketball tournament called Walk Away from Drugs in 1971.
During his later years, like I said, once he got into the drugs, is when he actually created, the tournament, the GOAT tournament that we know now. And the first year, everybody wanted to play in it, not because it was a good tournament. It certainly wasn't the best location. Certainly wasn't the best facility, outdoor court for basketball. It wasn't by no means, but his name. Just to say you played in the GOAT and to see that name on the shirt that you were wearing, was a big, big deal for everybody.
Everybody wants to be a part of something great. His tournament being after him and being his tournament, everybody just want to be in it because it's the GOAT. And even after his days of not being here, people still look forward to playing in that tournament because they can remember the good days, the good times that they had back in the 70s when they played, and now their sons have the opportunity, or their daughters now, because we have girls and women now, and they have an opportunity to play in a tournament that their parents played in.
I don't know, I guess you can quote these are evils of society, the drugs, and we see it today. Then heroin and marijuana were at its apex. It's always around. But the problem there is, it catches up to you. And it caught up to him, and he just needed a mentor, and somebody just to help him out and lead him in the right direction. And I think what this tournament does, it has this memory that, stay focused and do the right thing.
That's history right there, you know what I'm saying? It's like we have a piece of New York that most people don't have. That's of a minority. You understand? Like, how many people do you know in New York City that's a minority that has something to do with the park or gets anything in the park named after them. The Say No is in Frederick Douglass Center, which they call the Children's Aid Society now. And then the GOAT tournament is on 99th Street in Amsterdam. So they're like just blocks away from each other in the same neighborhood.
The Children's Aid Society hosts the Just Say No to Drugs tournament, which is ran by Hammer Stevens on the outside courts. He has 4 age division groups for the boys, ending in 16 and under, and the same division groups for the girls, ending in 18 and under. 7 blocks away where the GOAT tournament is held is the GOAT Park, uncommonly known as Happy Warrior Playground on 99th Street. This park is also the home to the annual Father's Day tournament, showcasing 3 men's games, the 25 and under, the 35 and under, and lastly the 40 and over game to close it out. Other events, such as the Nike Tournament of Champions back in 2008, was held here. It was a big event where streetball legends and NBA stars like Ron Artest came and had a memorable time. On days where Darren didn't host an event at the GOAT, the court was free to all. Different players from all over the city would convene at this infamous park, regardless of if they knew the history on it or not, and compete against other ball players. This park oozed competitiveness, and if you aren't ready to ball out, there are many other courts to the side where you can shoot and practice your game. Do you think his legacy still lives on in the GOAT?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, like I said, it's gone down a little bit because even when I played, he gave out the biggest darn trophies you could think of. And he still tried. I know his son has tried to keep that up, but it's almost impossible unless you got a lot of support from outside. Because trying to do a tournament by yourself, Earl had a lot of support from different people that believed in him and really, loved his reputation. So he got a lot of support. That's kind of gone.
By taking over the tournament and his father's dream, Darren gets to see the lives that change year in and year out. It gives opportunity for kids to come and compete and learn the morals of the game on and off the court. All the same morals his father Earl wanted for generations to come. These 2 tournaments, from the GOAT tournament to the Just Say No to Drugs tournament, are key ingredients of community around the neighborhood. Both tournaments feature the GOAT's face emblemed on the shirts and has significance to Earl's unique lifestyle. The Just Say No to Drugs shirt features his face, symbolizing that you can overcome drugs and be a positive influence in someone's life. The GOAT will always be remembered as someone who took care of the youth, having the same vision his mentor Mr. Rucker had.
The kids now, they look forward to playing in the GOAT. So, when they finish, they're not trying to get in trouble in the street because they we got a game tomorrow at the GOAT. They serious about that. That's love. That's crazy.
That one person who was destined for greatness. Someone so humble that one would feel the need to pour their heart out to and never worry if the fine details were mentioned again among strangers. A father figure to most aimless adolescents in preparation of a new lifestyle. A lifestyle dissimilar to his where drugs ruined the beginning but sparked a life-defining end. Earl Manigault is a high-flying beacon of light that shines not only on the courts of 99th Street in Amsterdam, but everywhere else. And for years to come, he'll be remembered as the GOAT.
And he would do some things that really Michael Jordan-esque.
Never showed off, He knew he was good and he didn't have to prove it.
Things always get blown out of proportion. There's nobody that can take a corner off the top of the backboard.
When he was at his peak, when he was at his prime, that as a guard, nobody could stop him.
I want to follow in his footsteps, but enhance it, like I said, to teach them more of respecting their peers, their fellow man, all that. It's a lot to this game, and it's too much. It's a lot of attitude. I love being in the center right here, where I'm at right now, Frederick Douglass Center, working with Hammer, with the young kids, helping them work with the women, and also on the plaque history of the park. So they give the history of the park. and they never have to mention your name. You know, when they mention your name, it means a lot. It means that you made an accomplishment of some sort, no matter what you might have done to be a downfall, but you came back and somebody looked at it, was like, yo, he was just that important, that, yo, we have to let people know who has something to do with this park, who made this park live. You know, Happy Warrior, like, you can say that to most people that don't know him, huh? Happy Warrior, but if you say the GOAT Park, they know exactly where that's at. Living his legacy and performing, you know, his tournament brings a lot of problems sometimes. I know how I was when he was around, but then I don't know how I was when he was around. And then right now, he's not around. So you can't expect the same thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Give the new guy a chance. My last impression, though, really from my father, man, is that the humbleness that he had, no matter what, is really mind-boggling, because these problems out here could really throw you for a loop. After he conquered everything he needed to conquer, like, nothing could break him down. So I'm trying to, you know, build up strength and keep my mind focused, and I'm trying to stay in certain places to keep me positive every day, all day. Okay? I'm here, I go here, I go home.